Welcome to Unveiled Mysteries. Today we unravel the thrilling tale of Richard Lee McNair, the man who masterminded 3 audacious prison escapes. Meet Richard Lee McNair, a decorated Air Force officer, a charming car salesman, and an infamous escape artist who outsmarted the justice system. Born in 1958 to a police officer father and a diligent mother, Richard's childhood was shaped by discipline, frequent relocations, and a knack for learning quickly. As a teenager, Richard juggled various jobs, from construction to radio announcing, and developed an uncanny ability to master any skill quickly. By his late teens, Richard found his talent in car sales, charming customers with his wit, and earning substantial success. At 21, Richard married Dorothy, but their marriage crumbled in just over a year, leaving him disillusioned and restless. Heartbroken and frustrated, Richard's interests shifted to weapons and petty thefts, eventually leading to his first arrest for stealing and burning a car. Determined to turn his life around, Richard joined the Air Force, excelling in military police and anti-terrorist training. Richard's discipline and sharp skills earned him medals and promotions, proving his potential as an officer. But little did anyone know, this was the calm before the storm. A series of events would soon turn him into America's most wanted prisoner. 1987. At a party, Richard got into a heated argument with a fellow soldier, leading to a brutal fight that left his left hand severely injured. The Air Force launched an inquiry, uncovering stolen goods in Richard's possession, tarnishing his spotless record. Stripped of his medals and reduced to a desk job, Richard's military career crumbled before his eyes. Frustrated and restless, Richard turned to shoplifting, not for money but for the thrill of the act. In November 1987, Richard broke into a local office, attempting to crack the safe. But a chance encounter with 2 men turned it into a tragedy. As Jerry and Dick entered the office, Richard panicked, firing shots that escalated into a deadly encounter. Richard fled, but not before firing at Jerry outside. A single bullet struck his chest, ending his life instantly. That night, Richard visited his girlfriend, unaware she worked at the same hospital where one of his victims was being treated. Police arrested Richard months later, but he was already planning his next move, a daring escape from their grasp. But this was only the beginning. Richard would soon prove he wasn't an ordinary prisoner. Locked in the police station, Richard used a tube of lip balm to grease his wrists and slip out of his handcuffs. Richard moved silently through the police station, his heart pounding as he evaded the officers nearby. He found a set of car keys in a police jacket hanging on a coat rack, his ticket to freedom. Richard walked calmly to the parking lot, found the car, and drove off into the night without a trace. Minutes later, the car ran out of gas, leaving Richard stranded and desperate for another plan. Richard abandoned the car and disappeared into the woods, his mind racing with survival strategies. By morning, police discovered the abandoned car, sparking a massive manhunt in the surrounding area. Meanwhile, Richard found a small shed and stole clothes, changing his appearance completely. Richard stayed ahead of the police for weeks, moving silently through small towns and remote areas. But after weeks of evasion, Richard was finally caught, setting the stage for his next, even more daring escape. Transferred to the North Dakota State Penitentiary, Richard began plotting his next escape, undeterred by his capture. Inside, Richard befriended Randall Heitch, a fellow inmate serving a life sentence, and shared his daring escape plan. Richard identified a massive exhaust pipe leading out of the prison, a perfect escape route if they could cut through it. The duo smuggled tools from the prison workshop, carefully hiding them in their cells for the escape attempt. Late one night, Richard and Randall began cutting through the pipe, careful not to attract attention. But their plan hit a snag when the pipe leaked dangerous fumes, forcing them to abandon the escape midway. Authorities discovered their attempt, doubling surveillance and isolating Richard in a high-security cell. During isolation, Richard wrote articles about prison life, earning respect among inmates and guards alike.
Despite the failure, Richard's determination to escape only grew stronger as he quietly observed his surroundings.
He studied every detail of the prison, mentally mapping out his next daring escape plan. Transferred to a prison in Minnesota, Richard found himself working in the mailroom where inspiration struck. Richard noticed the oversized mailbags were large enough to hide a person, and a risky but genius plan was born. Using tools from the workshop, Richard customized a mailbag with a hidden zipper, creating a secret hiding spot. On the morning of April 5, 2006, Richard hid inside the customized mailbag as it was loaded onto a truck. The mailbags were transported out of the prison, completely bypassing the guards and security checks. The truck reached a warehouse where Richard carefully unzipped the mailbag and made his escape during the workers' lunch break. Richard slipped out of the warehouse unnoticed, blending into the streets with his newly stolen clothes. When the prison realized Richard was missing, a massive manhunt was launched, but he was already miles away. Richard moved across states, changing his appearance and name frequently to stay ahead of law enforcement. For over a year, Richard evaded capture, leaving behind frustrated law enforcement at every turn. In October 2007, a sharp-eyed officer spotted Richard driving a stolen vehicle, bringing his freedom to an end. After his final capture, Richard was transferred to a Supermax prison, where no one had ever escaped before. Richard's escapes became legendary, cementing his place in history as one of the most daring criminals ever. His story captivated the public, inspiring movies, documentaries, and countless discussions about his ingenious escapes. Now in a maximum security facility, Richard's life has been meticulously controlled, ensuring he can never escape again. Years have passed and Richard reflects on his life, realizing that his brilliance was wasted on criminal acts.
Richard's story serves as a stark reminder that no matter how clever, the law will always catch up with those who break it.
Now in his final years, Richard remains behind bars, serving a life sentence, his legacy forever etched in criminal history. Richard McNair's story is a chilling reminder that no matter how far one runs, the past always catches up. Thank you for watching Unveiled Mysteries. If you enjoyed this incredible story, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more thrilling tales.